Sorry, but the microphone wasn't working, so now you got to listen to me. This is Len. He's my friend. He came over to show me how to do this. He's a very accomplished wood turner, and he has patience for me. Len is going to teach me a ton of things. Right here, he's showing me a group of sticks that represent the fibers and how you have to cut at a certain angle. You have to cut from the outside going in so you don't pull the fibers apart from each other. So you do from the bottom upward. This, he's showing me a chain, which will give me an actual shape for the bottom of the bowl. So you can tell what is pleasing to look at by the draping of the side. Okay, time to get started. Len is showing me how to hold the gouge so that it goes along the bevel and with an closed flute, not open. I want to do closed, and I want to be able to move my body and the angles. Way more choppy than I expected. Thank goodness he's helping me. Yeah, so I'm just going to watch this along with you and tell you what was going on at the time because I don't have anything written down as to what to do. And, all right. One of the things that we did notice was after using carbides for so long, I had kind of forgotten a lot of the rules of using a gouge. So this is sped up to 4 times normal speed, obviously. I can be jerky, but not quite that jerky. I ended up not really remembering how to use a gouge. And I also found that I was keeping the flute way too open all the time, like as if it was a roughing gouge. And I also was holding way too high up on the chisel. I wasn't giving myself the extra room on the chisel. Now here he has me going just 3/4 of the way up so that I don't cut against the fibers like he had been explaining. So I will then go back and cut from the top down. We want to get all the bark off the bottom of the bowl. So we're just getting it started so that's a little bit more cylindrical. When I get to a certain point, actually now, I'll start at the top and work my way back down. You'll see several times he'll correct me that my arm is way like choked up on the chisel. And I think that's because of the size of the carbides in comparison to a bowl gouge. The bowl gouge is way longer, and so I'm not used to having my arm back that far. I also have the tendency to just scrape along instead of putting any pressure toward what I'm working on. So you'll see me quite a few times kind of skipping around because I'm not putting enough pressure forward. I'm just kind of I'm putting pressure to the right and sideways, but not forward. Is that making any sense, hopefully? I'm getting there. Now I think I'm going to do a little bit of scraping on the top here, I believe. No, not yet. Yeah, still trying to get it evened up with the part that I brought up from the bottom. And the top part is very uneven, so Making some progress. Boy, really, really rough. Okay, now he's going to have me scraping the side, which I've never really done. I mean, I did, but, yeah, whatever. Haven't done it in a long time. I should be good at this because I'm pretty used to carbides, which is just scraping. So we don't have to go in very far because all I have to do is basically determine the top of the bowl and get that level. Okay, now that I got the top of the bowl established and flat, now I've got to go back to the bottom and get all this bark off and create a tenon on the bottom. This is where you're going to see I have a lot of trouble as far as putting the pressure onto the gouge. Also, keeping the flute at the right angle. I have the tendency to just go completely flat with the flute or completely sideways. So it's just, I mean, unfortunately, I spent too much time using carbides, and you do forget a lot of the basics. Carbides are fantastic, especially for somebody who's just learning to wood turn. That's, you know, I really was able to experiment a lot more and make a lot more things with the carbides because they were not as full body workout as a chisel is. But it's important to learn the fundamentals with the gouge. I'm sorry, I said a chisel, I meant a gouge. I'm just going to ramble, so get used to it. All right, now we have to determine, in a minute, we're going to get this bottom flat enough and cleaned off enough that we can determine where the tenon should be. So Len is measuring the size of the bowl to determine what is a pleasing size tenon. Okay, and so now watch this. I'm such a dit at times. So he's telling me, you know, just put one side in to make my groove. And then he's going to show me with this other thing. And he's like, no, you got it upside down. He has so much patience for me. It's unreal. Now comes the hard part of trying to figure out how to make the sharp edge of a tenon for inside the chuck, because it's got to be angled. It has to be straight on. I am so used to a square carbide that this is really a challenge to me. And unfortunately, my bottom camera, another technical difficulty we had was my bottom camera had on autofocusing. So every once in a while, you're not going to get the best view because I had to switch to the top camera because that one didn't have the autofocusing on it, and so it wasn't bouncing, it wasn't zooming in and out the whole time. So my rambling is basically what you would get if you watched one of my live streams. Although I do get the tendency to get preoccupied with what I'm doing and forget that there's people there who I should be speaking to. But this is coming along. It's getting there. Isn't it great when you see the line? I should have zoomed in on that, actually. Almost got all the bark off. Just a little bit left. Now, if I was doing the bowl myself, I would tend to leave that piece of bark on for decorative purposes, but I'll be honest with you, this bowl came out so beautiful. I am so proud of it. And I gave it to a dear friend of mine, and she was so happy with it that, yeah, it was perfect. So now we've got to try to get that shape that Len was showing me in the with the chain. So it has to be a draping kind of shape. So he's saying how this is too big of a lump right there. It's not draping yet. It's too much of a awkward lump. That's better. And look, I'm going right up the side. He's going to correct me because I was doing something wrong. I just started like fussing with it instead of paying attention to what I was doing. Now he's showing me how to just do a shearing cut, just to really smooth things over. This I actually was fairly good at because of having used a carbide. So it's funny that sometimes the carbide is actually beneficial. And the skill for a carbide can transfer. All right, and I cannot get this tenon thing done correctly. I'm just not. I can't get the sharp edge to put in the chuck, and it needs a sharp edge because it's a large bowl. I'm still doing the scraping right now, just trying to get the bottom cleaned up. And now I'm going to use the pointer just to get my sharp edge. But that's looking pretty. I have to say, as much as I love the carbide, it was really fun working with the gouge. Remembered I always have to have that little concave so that I don't get a weeble and have it wobble. And I put some pretty lines in it. I'm so fancy like that. Yeah, and then I drop the stuff when I'm trying to sand. I had the thing going flying right off. So we sanded and sanded and sanded and sanded. When we go to do the inside, I both times of the sanding, I did edit out a lot of the sanding because it is very, very, very time consuming. That's all you do is just sand, sand, sand. And Len is so good about going through all the different grits of sandpaper. But that wood grain is amazing. You see the microphone on Len, but somehow it got turned off. I think when I was clipping it on him, I think I turned it off. So I'm not gonna bore you completely with the sanding. Now we've turned it around, yay! And right now we're putting in, just with the screwdriver, we've measured exactly how deep it should be. So we're putting in the depth marker. And you can see where the tape is on it, so that's how deep it needs to be. So we put that there, so that goes to how deep I want the bowl to be. So when I get to the bottom of that hole, I know that I've gone far enough and have to start being careful. Even though I make all my bowl bottoms and bowl sides very thick compared to what they should be. And this here I was having trouble. I just, again, I was skimming across the top instead of actually using the gouge and putting it inward. I was going sideways with it, and I was just kind of skimming across the top, and it was just catching and catching and catching and catching. I was really having trouble. You'll see eventually I do get it. It's a bit of a long process sometimes. I am blonde, so there's that. But I do get it eventually. You'll notice how I constantly am changing from a very open to very closed, because I just can't seem to figure out exactly where I'm comfortable with that flute. And I did not edit out a huge amount of my cuts here. You can tell it's taking a long time. So I just kind of let it go. And it is sped up by 2%, but that's it. Some parts are sped up by 4, but the majority of it is sped up by 2. And you can see I'm having trouble getting used to, I'm used to the square carbide, honestly. So I'm having trouble getting used to using the very tip of the gouge to actually produce my side wall. And Len was so patient. And he knew he had to just let me figure it out, because he told me what to do, but until my brain did what I wanted my hands to do, my hands had to catch up with my brain or something, but I had to do it on my own. Like, he couldn't just keep holding my hands and make me do it, because then I was never going to actually learn. I actually had to make the mistakes, get the catches, do the things over and over and over again until it clicked in my head how I should be holding this. Unfortunately, the next day I tried to do something and wasn't able to do it with the gouge, but since then I have actually been working a lot more with the gouge than with the carbides. I just go to the carbide when I get really frustrated. So it's getting a little bit smoother. Look at that, all the way from the side, all the way, and look at, getting my side established. Not very well, but I'm getting there. And that's the whole thing, is I have to really practice with the gouges instead of the carbide, because I had gotten pretty good with the carbide. But I had kind of forgotten how to use the gouge. And so unless you do it, it's not like riding a bike. You're not going to remember. You're going to make a million mistakes trying to remember how you did it the first time. When I first learned to wood turn, which was only 3 years ago, I used only gouges. And then once I was on my own, I just right away went to carbides, because they're smaller, they're easier for me to maneuver around. They also are better for me because I'm short. I'm only 5 feet tall. And so Len and I did establish the fact that I need to use my step platform. because I'm a little too short for the lathe. And I'm not like the tiny turner and don't have perfect posture. So I need my step stool. Isn't that getting pretty? Yeah. This bowl is so beautiful. I do think I have another blank of this wood, so I might be making one of these for myself. So I'm getting better, especially once I move the tool rest, give myself a little bit more strength on the sides. And like I said, Len is a professional. He doesn't just wing it like I do, so he measured to make sure that my bottom was fairly consistent with my side. Now I'm going over it with just a round nose scraper, just to get everything smooth, in case there's any tool marks or lumps or bumps. Now let's finish off, clean up the front edges. My walls are very thick. I said to Len, oh, look at how nice and thin my walls are. And he just laughed at me. He was like, yeah, no, they're not thin. Then we're going to measure them again. Oh my gosh, the better the bowl looks, the worse I look. Holy cow. I look like somebody sanded me. And look, I'm even the one measuring it. Look at that. And so now we begin sanding. Long process of sanding. But I have to say, there is something magical about a piece of wood-turned item, a wood-turned item that has no tool marks, that has no scratches, has been sanded into submission. It is a beautiful piece of art. It's worth the time sanding, even though nobody really likes sanding. But it does make all the difference in the world, and going through all the different grits. Like really putting the effort in. Put as much effort into the sanding as you do into the turning, I guess. I guess that's the rule. Although I do have to say, if I was a better turner, I would not need to sand nearly as much. I watch these guys online and they they have like perfectly smooth surfaces just with one pass of the gouge. It's like, oh, come on. When am I ever going to get to that point? But you know what? As long as I'm still alive, I have my chance. Now for the money shot. Now the fun part. Let's put I'm using boiled linseed oil on it. Here we go. Look at that wood grain. Isn't that magnificent? And this was a piece of wood from a tree in our yard that fell down. Isn't that fun? A crabapple tree that fell down. I'm going to go get that bowl back. No, I need to make another. I need to make another. And I'm looking at this now and I am so grateful that Len made me take the time to really sand it to perfection, because that did make a lot of difference. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So there, I mean, thick walls and all, but the walls are the same as the base. So thank you so much for watching. I hope my commentary didn't annoy you too much. And please watch some of my other videos. Please subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Thanks again. Have a great day.